The faint morning glow barely pushed through the cloudy San Francisco sky as Ava Johnson hurried into the towering glass building that housed Skyline Digital Media. Ava, 28, with deep brown eyes and tightly coiled natural hair styled meticulously, paused momentarily to swipe her employee ID card. Today was a big day. Her pitch for the innovative new marketing app she'd been working on for months was due. Her pulse quickened with excitement mixed with nerves. She greeted the receptionist, a young intern named Emily, with a warm smile. Emily was scrolling lazily through her social feed but brightened noticeably when Ava walked past. "Morning, Ava. Good luck with the presentation today," Emily said cheerily. "Thanks, Em," Ava replied with genuine gratitude. Emily was new but sharp, and Ava appreciated her quiet encouragement. Ava entered the open concept workspace bustling with the usual Monday energy. Keyboards clicking rhythmically, the quiet hum of muted conversations, coffee machines steaming, and the occasional burst of laughter. Ava loved the vibrant chaos of creativity that defined Skyline Digital, even if she occasionally found herself lost in its frenetic pace. Her best friend at the company, Ethan Parker, an easygoing designer with thick-rimmed glasses and perpetually tousled hair, waved her over. "Ava, you ready?" he asked, sliding his chair out to make room for her to sit. "As ready as I'll ever be," she replied, sliding gracefully into the chair beside him. Ethan had seen every iteration of her app, Engage Now, a tool designed to revolutionize the way brands interact directly with consumers. He knew better than anyone how much she had poured her heart into the project. "Relax," Ethan reassured her, noting the tense set of her shoulders. "It's groundbreaking. They're gonna love it." Ava took a deep breath, scanning the bustling office. Across the room, she saw Brittany Wilson, her colleague and main competition, chatting animatedly with their boss, Charles Montgomery. Brittany, blonde, poised, and confident, exuded charm effortlessly. Ava admired her professional ease, though they never clicked on a personal level. Brittany's friendly exterior had always seemed too calculated, too smooth, hiding something beneath that Ava could never quite pinpoint. "She seems pretty confident," Ava said, gesturing subtly toward Brittany. "She's always confident," Ethan murmured. "Doesn't mean she's always right." Ava nodded slowly, pushing down her growing unease. Brittany glanced in Ava's direction suddenly, and their eyes met. Brittany gave her a polite, if slightly forced smile, and returned immediately to her conversation with Charles. Ava knew Brittany had been curious about her project. More than once, Brittany had casually probed her for details, questions that felt oddly intrusive, though always masked as harmless curiosity. Ethan leaned closer, lowering his voice. "Just watch yourself around her, Ava." "I can handle it," Ava replied, her tone steadier than she felt. The morning dragged until the conference room meeting. Ava spent her remaining hours meticulously reviewing her slides, double-checking every detail. Her vision was crystal clear. Engage Now would not only redefine consumer engagement, but also position Skyline as the industry's unquestionable leader. It was her brainchild, a synthesis of creativity, technical brilliance, and intuitive user experience. When the clock finally signaled 11:20 a.m., Ava gathered her laptop and headed to the spacious glass-walled conference room on the 15th floor, the nerve center for critical pitches and decisions. As she stepped inside, she was met by the cool, professional gaze of her supervisors and colleagues, seated around the polished oak table. Charles Montgomery sat at the head, his expression calm and expectant. Brittany entered last, sliding into a chair directly opposite Ava. They exchanged another quick, neutral smile. Ava couldn't help but wonder why Brittany looked so composed, so sure of herself, as though she already knew the outcome. Charles cleared his throat, silencing the subtle whispers around the table. "Good morning, team," Charles began, his voice authoritative but inviting. "Today is important. We're hearing two major pitches that could significantly shape our strategy moving forward. Brittany, why don't you go first?" Brittany stood confidently, connecting her device to the large screen. As her presentation began, Ava felt an unsettling familiarity. Brittany's concept was startlingly similar to Engage Now. Too similar. A sickening feeling twisted in Ava's gut as slide after slide unfolded, mirroring the core features of her own idea, masked only by subtle rebranding and slightly different phrasing. Ethan shot Ava a look, eyes wide with disbelief. Ava tried to maintain composure, heart racing, palms damp. Brittany's voice sounded distant, muffled by Ava's realization Brittany had stolen her idea. Somehow she'd gained access, adapted it slightly, and was now presenting Ava's months of meticulous effort as her own. When Brittany concluded, enthusiastic applause filled the room. Ava felt numb. Charles, impressed, nodded thoughtfully, clearly pleased. Ava's mind raced. Could she confront Brittany openly? Was this some twisted coincidence? Could she even prove theft? Or would she risk seeming petty, unprofessional? Excellent presentation, Brittany, Charles praised. Ava, you're next. Ava stood shakily, forcing strength into her posture. She took a deep breath and steadied her voice, preparing to present her idea, the original version that Brittany had cleverly appropriated. I appreciate the chance to present Engage now, Ava began carefully. She saw Charles's brow furrow slightly at the familiar-sounding name. Around the table, colleagues exchanged puzzled glances, sensing the uncomfortable tension. She advanced the first slide, identical in purpose but notably more refined than Brittany's. Immediately, a whisper of confusion filled the room. Brittany's confident smile faltered, replaced by guarded vigilance. Interesting, Charles interjected gently. This seems somewhat similar to what Brittany just shared. More than somewhat, Ava answered firmly, her eyes locked onto Brittany's now cautious expression. Ava took another breath, resolved to push forward despite the heavy silence pressing down upon the room. Engage Now is designed to connect brands directly with their consumers in a revolutionary way. Let me explain exactly how. Her words were precise, compelling, and clearly original. As she progressed, the differences between Brittany's hastily adapted version and Ava's polished concept became glaringly evident. Brittany's composure steadily cracked, shifting uncomfortably in her seat, glancing nervously at Charles and the increasingly skeptical faces around her. When Ava concluded, the silence that filled the room was thick, palpable. Ethan clapped first, loudly and deliberately, quickly joined by several others around the table, acknowledging Ava's clear innovation and superior depth of understanding. Charles stood slowly, his gaze oscillating between Ava and Brittany. Thank you, Ava. Clearly we have a lot to discuss, he said, voice carefully neutral. We'll reconvene tomorrow. Both presentations were unexpectedly similar. As the meeting dispersed, Brittany approached Ava, her expression shifting quickly from surprise to defensive anger. Interesting tactic, Brittany whispered sharply. Trying to accuse me subtly? Ava met her gaze firmly. You know exactly what you did. Brittany smiled coldly, regaining some composure. Prove it, she hissed quietly before walking briskly out of the room. Ava remained standing, stunned, heart racing. Ethan approached, concern etched deeply on his face. Ava? I have to prove it, Ava whispered, determination hardening her resolve. And I will. Ava left the conference room feeling both exhilarated and sickened, a mixture of adrenaline and betrayal coursing through her veins. She replayed Brittany's cold words in her mind repeatedly. Prove it. The smug arrogance, the sharp tone, it all reinforced Ava's resolve. But determination alone wouldn't restore what Brittany had tried to take. Ava needed concrete evidence. Returning to her workspace, she felt the curious eyes of her coworkers following her. News traveled quickly at Skyline Digital Media, especially when controversy was involved. Ava caught snippets of whispered conversations as she walked by, the murmur of speculation filling the air. Emily, the receptionist, gave her a supportive yet nervous nod from her spot at the front desk. Ava appreciated the quiet encouragement, but was too preoccupied to return more than a half-hearted smile. She sat heavily at her desk, feeling the weight of the morning's confrontation press down on her. Across the room, Brittany had already returned to normal, laughing effortlessly with a small cluster of her loyal followers. Ava studied Brittany discreetly, marveling bitterly at her ability to appear unbothered after such blatant dishonesty. Ethan arrived shortly, carrying 2 cups of coffee, placing one silently on Ava's desk. How you holding up? He asked softly. I don't know, Ava admitted, sipping gratefully. The coffee was bitter and scalding, but it felt grounding amidst the chaos in her head. Everyone saw that presentation. Do you think anyone else realizes what's happened? Ethan hesitated, carefully choosing his words. Honestly, some might, but Brittany is convincing. Without proof, it could easily seem coincidental, or worse, like sour grapes on your part. Ava sighed deeply. I thought about confronting Charles directly. But you saw his expression. He was confused, sure, but Brittany has always been one of his favorites. That's exactly why you need solid evidence, Ethan urged, leaning in closer. Look, Brittany isn't stupid. If she stole your idea, she left traces. You just have to find them. Where would I even start? Ava asked, frustration edging her voice. She was always subtly asking about engage now, acting friendly. I trusted her, at least professionally. Ethan frowned thoughtfully. Maybe she accessed your files remotely or had someone help her. Ava felt a sudden pang of suspicion. She couldn't have done this alone, could she? Not likely, Ethan agreed. Her expertise isn't tech. She's smart, sure, but this kind of precision. Someone must have assisted her. Maybe someone who knows your passwords or at least how our internal systems work. Ava paused, eyes widening slightly with realization. Brittany has been spending a lot of time lately with Lucas from IT. They've been meeting after hours. Everyone assumed they were dating, but maybe there was more to it. Ethan's eyebrows shot up in interest. Lucas Reynolds? That quiet guy, always buried in code? He doesn't seem like someone who'd risk his career. Maybe not willingly, Ava countered. But Brittany knows how to persuade people. Maybe she promised something in return. Promotion, money, influence. Then start there, Ethan urged, excitement coloring his voice. Find out exactly what Lucas knows. But tread carefully. If Brittany senses you're digging around, she could cover her tracks. Ava nodded firmly. Ethan was right. If Brittany was bold enough to openly present Ava's stolen idea, she had probably taken measures to protect herself. Ava needed discretion, patience, and strategy. Throughout the afternoon, Ava carefully observed Lucas Reynolds from a distance. He sat quietly in his cubicle, absorbed in lines of code displayed vividly on dual screens. Occasionally, Brittany stopped by briefly, leaning close, whispering conspiratorially. Each interaction set Ava's nerves on edge, reinforcing her suspicion. Determined, Ava waited until late in the evening, after most of her coworkers had departed. The office quieted gradually, leaving only the hum of the ventilation system and distant echoes of janitorial staff moving through the halls. Lucas, predictably, was one of the last to leave. Finally, seeing her moment, Ava approached cautiously. "Hey, Lucas," she called softly, adopting a friendly, casual tone. Lucas startled slightly, swiveling his chair around quickly, eyes wide behind thick glasses. "Oh, Ava, hi," he stammered, clearly uncomfortable. His nervous reaction immediately increased her suspicion. "Working late again?" she asked innocently, stepping closer. "You've really been logging extra hours lately." Lucas smiled nervously, glancing toward the elevators as though seeking escape. "Yeah, just trying to catch up on some projects." "Projects with Brittany?" Ava asked gently, observing carefully as his reaction confirmed her suspicions. Lucas visibly stiffened at Brittany's name. "I mean, she had a few questions. Nothing special," he muttered, clearly defensive. "Questions about what exactly?" Ava pressed softly, careful not to push too aggressively, mindful of Lucas's timid personality. He hesitated, clearly debating internally. "Just tech stuff. She needed help accessing her own files, that's all." "Funny," Ava replied calmly. "Brittany's never had trouble accessing files before. She's been here for years." Lucas squirmed uncomfortably. Maybe she just forgot. "Look, Ava, I really need to go home." "Lucas," Ava interrupted gently, but firmly enough to pause his escape. "I know Brittany presented my project today as her own. She couldn't have done it without your help. I'm giving you a chance. Please, tell me the truth." Lucas turned pale, eyes wide, clearly trapped between fear and guilt. "Ava, please don't involve me. Please don't. Brittany said nobody would ever know. I never meant to harm you." "Lucas." Ava's voice was quiet, sincere. "You've already harmed me by helping her. Now you have a chance to fix it. I don't want to ruin your career, but Brittany manipulated you, and you know that." He sighed deeply, staring down at the floor. When he spoke again, his voice was barely audible. "She said she'd recommend me for a promotion. I didn't even know it was your idea at first, I swear. Brittany told me it was her work. She just lost access and needed my help. By the time I realized, it was too late." Ava felt relief mixed with anger. Anger not just toward Brittany, but toward a workplace culture where people like Lucas could be manipulated so easily. "Do you have proof? Emails, texts, anything?" Ava pressed urgently. Lucas nodded hesitantly. "Some chat logs, a few emails she sent. Maybe they can help." Ava exhaled sharply. "Please send them to me privately. If you cooperate, I'll do everything I can to keep your name out of this." Lucas seemed profoundly relieved. "Thank you, Ava. I'll send it tonight." She left the office that evening feeling cautiously optimistic. Finally, she had something tangible. A trail. Evidence of Brittany's deceit. Yet Ava knew this was only the beginning. Brittany Wilson was influential, clever, and ruthless. Exposing her would not be easy or risk-free. At home, Ava sat restlessly, her phone beside her, awaiting Lucas's promised message. When it finally pinged, illuminating her darkened living room, Ava's heart jumped. She quickly scrolled through the attached screenshots, heart racing faster with each damning piece of evidence. Brittany's deceitful words, her manipulation, it was all there, clearly documented. Tomorrow, Ava would confront Brittany with indisputable proof. She knew it would be messy, complicated, and potentially dangerous for her career, yet justice mattered deeply. Ava refused to be silenced or overshadowed any longer. As Ava finally drifted into restless sleep, determination burned brightly within her. Tomorrow would bring confrontation, risk, and perhaps redemption. She was ready. Ava woke early the next morning, anxiety gnawing at her chest. Despite her exhaustion, sleep had eluded her for most of the night as she mentally rehearsed the confrontation ahead. Sunlight filtered gently through the curtains of her modest San Francisco apartment, painting soft patterns on the walls. She rose slowly, feeling the weight of responsibility pressing heavily upon her shoulders. Today would be pivotal. Today could define her entire career. After showering quickly and dressing in a sharp navy blue suit, a choice of outfit that reinforced her sense of confidence, she sat down at her kitchen table, nursing a cup of strong black coffee. Ava opened her laptop, methodically reviewing the screenshots Lucas had sent her the night before. The evidence was explicit and damning. Brittany had meticulously guided Lucas through unauthorized access to Ava's personal project files. Their exchanges, cloaked initially in casual professionalism, grew progressively more explicit in detailing their deceit. Reading through the messages again, Ava felt a new wave of anger. How had Brittany thought she could possibly get away with something this audacious? A knock at her apartment door broke Ava from her furious reverie. Ethan stood outside, carrying a paper bag from their favorite neighborhood cafe. "I figured you'd need sustenance before your big battle," he said lightly, though his expression betrayed genuine concern. "You're a lifesaver," Ava said, stepping aside to let him enter. Ethan deposited the bag on her kitchen table, pulling out fresh pastries and another steaming cup of coffee. "So," Ethan began cautiously as he glanced at Ava's laptop screen, clearly seeing the email exchange she had open. "You've got solid proof?" She nodded grimly. "Lucas gave me everything. Brittany essentially coached him into hacking my account. It's undeniable." Ethan whistled softly, impressed and equally disturbed. "You realize Brittany won't take this lying down, right? Once exposed, she could become unpredictable." "I know," Ava admitted quietly. "But if I don't act now, she'll only grow bolder. She'll believe she's untouchable." They sat quietly for a moment, the gravity of the impending confrontation hanging heavily between them. Ethan eventually broke the silence. "Do you trust Charles Montgomery to handle this fairly?" Ava hesitated, considering the question carefully. Charles had always treated her with professional respect, yet Brittany had skillfully woven herself into the fabric of upper management. "I honestly don't know," she replied, "but I don't have a choice. If Charles ignores this, I'll escalate it higher. Brittany can't win." Ethan squeezed her shoulder gently, supportive and reassuring. "I'm behind you all the way. Whatever happens, we'll deal with it together." Feeling fortified by Ethan's unwavering loyalty, Ava gathered her belongings and left her apartment, heading to Skyline Digital Media for what would undoubtedly be one of the most challenging days of her life. Arriving at the office earlier than usual, Ava found the workspace already humming with energy. Employees gathered in small clusters, discussing yesterday's tense meeting. Emily at reception greeted Ava warmly, though her eyes flickered with curiosity. "Good luck today, Ava," she murmured discreetly as Ava passed, clearly aware of the unfolding drama. Ava smiled gratefully and moved briskly to her desk, spotting Brittany already holding court with several colleagues near the conference room. Brittany looked as poised and composed as ever, but Ava noticed a slight edge beneath her perfect facade, a fleeting tension in her carefully controlled expression. At precisely 9 a.m., Ava requested a private meeting with Charles. Her heart pounded in anticipation as she entered his sleek, expansive office lined with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking San Francisco's bustling streets. Charles, sitting behind a polished mahogany desk, greeted her with measured politeness. "Morning, Ava," Charles began calmly. "I assume this is regarding yesterday's unfortunate overlap between your presentation and Brittany's?" "It is," Ava replied, maintaining composure. I have important information you need to see. She placed her laptop on his desk, swiveling it around to reveal the incriminating evidence clearly displayed. Charles's expression grew increasingly troubled as he absorbed the exchanges, his previously composed demeanor shifting to one of growing discomfort. This is serious, Ava, he murmured finally, rubbing his temples. Lucas Reynolds provided these? Ava nodded gravely. He cooperated willingly. He was misled by Brittany. He's ready to provide further testimony if required. Charles sighed heavily, clearly distressed. I never imagined Brittany capable of this. She's always been ambitious, yes, but this crosses a significant ethical boundary. Ava regarded him carefully, sensing his conflicted emotions. Charles, I trust you'll handle this appropriately, but I want assurances this won't simply be swept under the rug. He met her gaze, steady and resolved. Ava, I promise you I take this very seriously. Allow me to handle Brittany directly. I'll call her in immediately. Ava nodded, stepping out briefly while Charles summoned Brittany. Moments later, Brittany breezed into the office, outwardly calm, though a trace of anxiety flickered in her eyes upon seeing Ava already seated. Charles? Brittany inquired, her tone carefully neutral. You wanted to see me? Charles motioned her toward the laptop. Would you care to explain this? Brittany's eyes widened slightly as she scanned the damning exchanges between herself and Lucas. Quickly recovering her composure, she attempted a dismissive laugh. This is clearly a misunderstanding. Ava's taken a few harmless emails entirely out of context, Brittany said confidently, maintaining her poised facade. A harmless misunderstanding? Ava interjected coolly. These emails show you explicitly directing Lucas to access my private project files. Brittany bristled visibly, her composure beginning to fray. Ava, I understand your frustration, but accusing colleagues of sabotage is unprofessional and dangerous. Enough, Charles interjected sharply, silencing Brittany immediately. The evidence Ava provided is quite clear. Brittany, you've significantly compromised our company's integrity. For the first time, Brittany faltered, her carefully constructed facade crumbling rapidly. Panic flickered across her face, swiftly replaced by barely contained fury. Charles, you're seriously taking her side without even fully— The emails speak for themselves, Charles replied sternly. Effective immediately, you're suspended pending further investigation. Brittany turned pale, clearly shocked by the severity of Charles's decision. She glanced toward Ava, eyes narrowed in anger. You'll regret this, Ava, she hissed bitterly before storming out, leaving a tense silence in her wake. Charles exhaled deeply, visibly shaken. I'm sorry you had to endure this, Ava. We'll address it officially at tomorrow's company-wide meeting. Until then, keep this quiet. We don't need further disruption. Ava left the office, feeling both vindicated and strangely unsettled by Brittany's harsh warning. Ethan, anxiously waiting nearby, approached immediately upon seeing her emerge. Well? Ethan prompted urgently, noting Ava's troubled expression. Brittany's suspended, Ava reported softly. But it's not over. She threatened me openly. Ethan frowned, concern etching his features. Stay alert, Ava. People like Brittany don't back down easily. I know, Ava admitted, suddenly weary. This is just the start. Throughout the remainder of the day, tension permeated Skyline Digital Media. Brittany's absence was immediately noticeable, and whispers spread rapidly. Ava, though confident she had done the right thing, couldn't shake the lingering apprehension Brittany's threat had left behind. Late that evening, as Ava prepared to leave, she received an anonymous message on her phone, a single cryptic sentence that sent chills down her spine. Careful, Ava. Truth comes with a price. Heart pounding, Ava stared at the words. The message had been sent from an untraceable number. Clearly, Brittany still had allies. Or perhaps Ava had underestimated just how deep this deception ran within Skyline Digital. Resolving not to be intimidated, Ava straightened her shoulders, stepping confidently into the cool San Francisco night. She had exposed Brittany's treachery, but the fight was far from over. Ava spent another restless night tossing and turning, haunted by the cryptic message she'd received. Careful, Ava. Truth comes with a price. Every creak and distant car horn seemed louder, every shadow deeper. By morning, exhaustion shadowed her reflection as she stood before the bathroom mirror. Still, she steeled herself. There was no turning back now. Skyline Digital buzzed with suppressed anticipation when Ava arrived. Brittany's suspension had quickly become common knowledge, despite Charles's insistence on discretion. Gossip had spread like wildfire through the open-plan offices, feeding a constant low-level tension that hovered in the air. Ava could feel eyes following her subtly as she walked to her desk, a curious blend of admiration, suspicion, and uncertainty. Ethan was waiting anxiously, clutching 2 large coffees as she settled in. His normally bright demeanor was subdued, eyes wary. "Did you get any sleep?" he asked gently, offering her the coffee like a peace offering. "Not really," Ava admitted, gratefully accepting the steaming cup. "Did you hear anything else about Brittany?" "Just whispers," Ethan said quietly, leaning in closer. "Apparently, Brittany isn't going down without a fight. I overheard marketing say she already contacted HR with some version of her own story, claiming unfair treatment." Ava sighed heavily, unsurprised but still deeply troubled. She's going to twist this to make herself look like the victim. Ethan frowned, shaking his head in frustration. "Charles will back you, won't he?" "He promised he would," Ava said carefully, though uncertainty flickered briefly in her eyes. "But Brittany is resourceful. She still has connections throughout management. And there's something else." She hesitated, then handed Ethan her phone, showing him the cryptic anonymous message from the night before. Ethan's eyes narrowed sharply. "Someone is threatening you now?" Ava shrugged, trying to minimize her own discomfort. "It could just be Brittany trying to scare me." "Or someone else loyal to her," Ethan countered grimly. "We underestimated how many allies Brittany might have." "Maybe," Ava admitted reluctantly. "But whoever it is, I'm not backing down." Before Ethan could reply, Emily, the young receptionist, approached cautiously, her face clouded with anxiety. "Ava?" Emily whispered nervously. "Can we talk privately?" Surprised, Ava quickly glanced at Ethan, then nodded, following Emily to a quieter corner near the large window overlooking the bustling city streets below. "What is it, Em?" Ava asked gently, sensing the receptionist's discomfort. Emily hesitated, fidgeting anxiously with the sleeves of her blouse. Finally, she looked up, her blue eyes earnest and fearful. "I overheard Brittany speaking to someone on the phone last night. She stopped by late, when almost everyone was gone." Ava's pulse quickened. "Did you hear what she said?" Emily nodded solemnly, glancing cautiously over her shoulder before continuing. "She was furious. She kept mentioning your name, talking about making sure Ava learns her lesson. And she said something else, something about Lucas." "What about Lucas?" Ava pressed urgently, alarm creeping into her voice. Emily bit her lower lip, clearly distressed. "Brittany said Lucas needed to keep quiet or else. It sounded serious." Ava's mind raced with panic. Lucas, nervous and vulnerable, had already risked his job by helping her. If Brittany was willing to openly threaten her, Lucas could be in even greater danger. Ava knew immediately she had to act. "Thank you, Emily," Ava said warmly, touching her arm reassuringly. "You did the right thing telling me. Please don't mention this to anyone else yet." Emily nodded firmly, clearly relieved but still worried. "Be careful, Ava." Returning quickly to Ethan, Ava relayed Emily's alarming revelation. "You think Lucas is really in danger?" Ethan asked skeptically, though his tone was cautious rather than dismissive. "Brittany is unpredictable," Ava replied sharply, urgency coloring her voice. "Lucas is a key witness against her. She might be desperate enough to silence him." Ethan paused, considering the seriousness of Ava's concern. "Then we need to warn Lucas immediately. I'll come with you." Ava nodded gratefully, feeling steadied by Ethan's unwavering support. Together they hurried toward Lucas's workstation, only to find his cubicle empty, chair neatly pushed in, screens dark. Ava felt her stomach clench anxiously. Lucas was never absent without notice. Quickly, Ethan asked around, but none of Lucas's coworkers had seen him all morning. Alarmed, Ava pulled out her phone, dialing Lucas's personal number. After several long rings, the call went directly to voicemail. Ava's anxiety spiked sharply. "He's not answering," Ava murmured, heart pounding. "Ethan, something's wrong." Before Ethan could respond, a cold voice behind them interrupted sharply. "Looking for Lucas?" They both spun around to see Brittany standing confidently, a smug smirk on her carefully made-up face. Though officially suspended, Brittany had returned defiantly, seemingly unafraid of consequences. "What did you do, Brittany?" Ava demanded, her voice calm but trembling with anger. Brittany's eyes glittered with malicious satisfaction. "Lucas is taking some time off. Stress leave, actually. Poor thing. Couldn't handle the pressure, apparently." "You threatened him," Ethan growled, visibly restraining his temper. Brittany shrugged delicately, feigning innocence. Threatened? I merely advised him that lying could severely harm his career. Maybe he finally saw reason. Ava's fists clenched tightly at her sides, fury boiling beneath her composed exterior. You won't get away with this. Brittany leaned closer, dropping her voice to a menacing whisper. Careful, Ava. People who play hero often find themselves very alone. Charles might protect you now, but loyalties shift quickly around here. Without waiting for Ava's reply, Brittany sauntered away, drawing curious glances from everyone nearby. Ava stood rigid, anger and frustration coursing through her veins. We have to find Lucas, Ethan said quietly. If he retracts his statement or disappears, your proof weakens significantly. Ava nodded gravely. I'll check his home. Maybe he'll feel safer talking there. Ethan hesitated briefly. Let me come. Brittany could be dangerous. No, Ava said firmly, sensing the escalating stakes clearly now. If Brittany sees us together, it'll draw too much attention. I'll go alone, but I'll call you immediately if something happens. Reluctantly agreeing, Ethan squeezed Ava's hand gently. Be careful, Ava. This isn't just about your job anymore. Brittany is cornered, and desperate people are unpredictable. Ava left the office swiftly, driving through San Francisco's busy streets toward Lucas's modest apartment building downtown. Anxiety twisted sharply inside her as she ascended the stairs to his door, knocking softly. There was no response at first. Ava knocked louder, heart pounding. Finally, she heard faint footsteps inside. The door opened a crack, revealing Lucas's anxious, pale face peering cautiously outward. Ava, Lucas breathed, visibly relieved. Thank God it's you. Come inside quickly. She entered, noting immediately the disarray. Half-packed bags, computer equipment hastily shoved into boxes. You're leaving? Ava asked incredulously. Lucas nodded anxiously, eyes darting nervously toward the window. Brittany threatened me. She said if I testify, she'll make sure I never work again. Anywhere. Lucas, please, Ava urged desperately. I can protect you. Charles is on our side. You don't get it, Ava, Lucas whispered fearfully. Brittany has connections, powerful ones. It's not just my job. She implied worse. Legal trouble, criminal charges, things I didn't do. Ava's blood ran cold. Brittany's ruthlessness clearly had no limits. You can't run, Lucas, Ava said firmly. She'll still destroy your reputation. Lucas stared hopelessly, visibly torn. Finally, he nodded slowly. What do you need from me? Ava squeezed his hand reassuringly. Just stay strong and testify honestly. I'll handle Brittany. She left Lucas's apartment, deeply shaken yet resolute. Brittany had underestimated Ava's determination. No matter the threats, Ava wouldn't yield. She would fight to the end, no matter what the cost. Ava left Lucas's apartment feeling the weight of responsibility pressing heavily upon her shoulders. The sunny San Francisco afternoon seemed at odds with her mood, its brightness offering no comfort. Her thoughts churned restlessly, Brittany's threats echoing persistently in her mind. Lucas had agreed to testify, but Ava knew his confidence was fragile, his courage balanced precariously on the edge of Brittany's intimidation. Protecting Lucas now felt like her personal mission, an additional burden, but one she willingly carried. Back at Skyline Digital Media, the atmosphere had grown heavier, dense with speculation and anxiety. Brittany's presence earlier had reignited whispers among employees, each exchanging furtive glances as Ava passed. Ava knew she had become the center of unwanted attention, a focal point for gossip, sympathy, envy, and suspicion. She braced herself, walking purposefully toward her desk, refusing to show any sign of vulnerability. Ethan approached quickly, concern etched deeply on his face. Did you find Lucas? He asked quietly, glancing around to ensure their conversation remained private. Yes, Ava answered softly, her voice strained yet resolute. Brittany threatened him badly. She's tried everything to scare him away. He almost left town, Ethan. Ethan exhaled sharply, anger flickering briefly behind his usually gentle demeanor. Did he agree to testify? Ava nodded grimly. Reluctantly, but yes. He understands Brittany won't stop unless we make her. Before Ethan could respond, Charles Montgomery approached, his typically confident demeanor clouded by stress and irritation. He gestured subtly for Ava to follow him to his office, the message clear. Something urgent needed discussing immediately. Inside Charles's expansive office, the atmosphere felt noticeably tense. Charles closed the door quietly behind them, signaling Ava to sit across from him. For a long moment, he seemed to deliberate internally before finally speaking. "Ava," Charles began carefully, eyes focused directly on hers. "I've just been informed by HR that Brittany Wilson has filed an official complaint, claiming unfair suspension, harassment, and racial bias against her." Ava sat stunned, absorbing the words slowly, anger simmering beneath her carefully neutral expression. "Racial bias?" she repeated incredulously. "She seriously accused me of targeting her unfairly?" Charles sighed deeply, clearly troubled. "Brittany is attempting to flip this entire situation, accusing you and me of targeting her due to her race. It's obviously baseless, but HR is obligated to investigate fully. Until this is resolved, Brittany remains suspended, but officially your complaint is now countered by hers." Ava's fists clenched involuntarily. Brittany's audacity knew no limits, her tactics blatantly manipulative. Yet Ava understood the painful irony. As a black woman navigating corporate America, Ava had always been keenly aware of systemic biases. Now Brittany cynically exploiting such an accusation felt deeply offensive and personal. "Charles," Ava finally responded, her voice steady but charged with restrained emotion. "You know Brittany's claim is absurd. She's manipulating HR, weaponizing an issue meant to protect genuine victims." Charles nodded gravely, his expression resolute yet troubled. "I agree entirely, but we must proceed cautiously. HR demands absolute impartiality. They've scheduled a formal review and investigation starting immediately. You, Brittany, Lucas Reynolds, and several others will be interviewed." Ava exhaled sharply, feeling the stakes escalate further. "Lucas is terrified, Charles. Brittany's intimidation nearly drove him out of town. He's agreed to testify, but he's vulnerable. If she pushes him harder, he might break." Charles frowned deeply, visibly disturbed by Ava's revelation. "I'll speak to Lucas personally. He'll have full support from the company. I promise you that." Relieved by Charles's genuine support, Ava rose to leave, her thoughts already racing forward to the interviews. But as she stood, Charles spoke again quietly, his voice suddenly more cautious. "Ava, be careful. Brittany's network runs deeper than we thought. She has powerful friends higher up. If she escalates further, this could get ugly." Ava paused, meeting Charles's gaze directly. "It's already ugly, Charles. But I'm ready to face it, whatever comes." As Ava exited Charles's office, Ethan stood anxiously nearby, sensing immediately the gravity of the situation. "It's worse than we thought, isn't it?" "Much worse," Ava admitted, voice tight with suppressed frustration. "Brittany has formally accused us of racial bias. HR is investigating. This has just escalated into something much bigger." Ethan paled slightly, clearly unsettled. "Racial bias? Brittany of all people? She's using it as a shield," Ava said bitterly, "exploiting something real and important just to cover her own wrongdoing." Before Ethan could respond, Ava's phone vibrated sharply. Glancing down, her heart skipped. Another anonymous message had appeared, this one even more sinister. "Be careful who you trust. Not everyone is who they seem." Fear flickered briefly within Ava, immediately replaced by anger. Someone at Skyline Digital, perhaps even someone close, was clearly attempting to destabilize her, sowing mistrust and fear. Ethan, noticing Ava's sudden tension, asked gently, "Another threat?" She nodded stiffly, showing him the message. Ethan's eyes narrowed suspiciously. "Someone's deliberately targeting you, Ava. You should report this to Charles immediately." "No," Ava replied quickly, determination hardening her voice. "If I panic now, whoever sent this wins." "They want me isolated, paranoid. But I trust you, Ethan, and I trust Charles. We have to stay united." Ethan sighed deeply, visibly worried but supportive. "Just promise you'll keep me informed. Whoever this is, they're playing a dangerous game." Throughout the afternoon, Ava attempted to maintain a facade of calm productivity, her mind constantly churning. Colleagues eyed her cautiously, curiosity mixed with uncertainty clearly visible. Ava felt trapped under a microscope, each action scrutinized. Brittany had succeeded in casting doubt, even if temporarily, on Ava's integrity, leaving her feeling painfully exposed. Late in the evening, as the office gradually emptied, Ava remained at her desk, lost deep in thought. Suddenly, a shadow moved behind her, startling her sharply. Spinning quickly, she found Emily standing nervously nearby, clearly shaken. Emily? What's wrong? Ava asked immediately, sensing the receptionist's distress. Emily hesitated, visibly upset. Ava, I know who's been sending those anonymous threats. Ava felt a chill creep down her spine. Who? Emily's voice trembled as she whispered urgently. I saw Brittany speaking privately with Madison Barnes from marketing. Madison has always been close to Brittany, and yesterday I overheard her telling Brittany she'd sent the messages. I didn't understand at first, but now it makes sense. Ava felt immediate betrayal and shock. Madison Barnes had always seemed professional, detached, and largely neutral. Clearly, Ava had underestimated Brittany's influence and reach within Skyline Digital. Emily, thank you, Ava said gratefully. You've been incredibly brave coming forward. Just be careful, Emily pleaded softly. Madison has influence, more than most realize. If she's involved, Brittany's reach is even deeper. As Emily hurried away, Ava sat alone, shaken yet resolved. Brittany's network was extensive, her allies powerful, but Ava refused to be intimidated or silenced. Brittany had turned this conflict into a deeply personal attack, but Ava was prepared to fight harder than ever. Packing her belongings, Ava left the emptying office building feeling both isolated and determined. Brittany had escalated the stakes dramatically, weaponizing accusations, exploiting allies, manipulating systems designed to protect genuine victims. Ava knew clearly now. This was no longer merely about a stolen idea. It had become a battle over integrity, justice, and truth itself. Walking alone into the twilight streets of San Francisco, Ava's determination crystallized powerfully within her. Brittany Wilson might have connections, power, and influence, but Ava had something stronger: truth, resilience, and unwavering courage. No matter the cost, Ava vowed silently to herself, she would not yield. Days passed slowly, each one feeling longer and heavier than the last. Skyline Digital Media had become a silent battleground, a place where suspicion simmered beneath the polite facade of professionalism. Ava could feel the tension in every shared glance, every forced smile. Employees chose their words carefully, aware that behind the scenes, a fierce and damaging conflict was unfolding. The investigation launched by HR proceeded meticulously, interviews scheduled back-to-back. Ava found herself frequently summoned to conference rooms, her every action dissected under the calm, probing gaze of Miranda Evans, the head of human resources. Miranda, a poised woman in her early 40s with sharp features and an impenetrable poker face, revealed nothing of her conclusions, leaving Ava in a constant state of apprehension. During her interviews, Ava recounted her interactions with Brittany in exhaustive detail, meticulously presenting the evidence Lucas had provided. Miranda listened intently, noting every word yet revealing little about how the investigation was progressing. Ava couldn't help but feel that every word she spoke was weighed against Brittany's accusations of racial bias, a malicious tactic that hung over Ava's reputation like a threatening storm cloud. Late one afternoon, as Ava prepared to leave after a particularly grueling day, Ethan approached her, visibly troubled. Ava, he said quietly, glancing around nervously. I need to talk to you privately. Concerned by his tone, Ava quickly grabbed her belongings and followed Ethan to a quiet corner of the deserted office space, out of earshot from any potential eavesdroppers. What's wrong? She asked gently, noting the anxiety in Ethan's normally calm eyes. Ethan hesitated, struggling to find the right words. Miranda interviewed me again today. Ava, she seemed fixated on your personal history. Specifically, your previous workplace experiences. She asked questions implying you might have a history of conflicts or disagreements. Ava felt a cold dread rise within her. They're digging into my past now? Trying to portray me as problematic? It seems that way, Ethan confirmed reluctantly, clearly uncomfortable delivering this news. Brittany must have pushed HR to look deeper, hoping to discredit your character. Frustration surged through Ava, along with deep-seated anger. Brittany's tactics were increasingly vicious and personal. They're not going to find anything. My past record is spotless. Ethan looked deeply troubled, hesitating again before speaking. Maybe, but Brittany seems confident. She keeps hinting that something will come out, something damaging. Ava paused, her thoughts racing back to her previous jobs. She'd always maintained professionalism, excelling in every position. Yet she knew how easily rumors or misunderstandings could be manipulated, especially by someone as ruthless as Brittany. Did Miranda say what specifically she was looking for? Ava pressed anxiously. No specifics, Ethan admitted. Just implications, questions about conflicts, disagreements, any reasons you left previous jobs. Ava sighed deeply, feeling increasingly cornered. Brittany knows she can't win on evidence alone, so she's trying character assassination instead. She wants HR questioning my integrity, hoping to undermine my credibility. Ethan squeezed Ava's shoulder supportively. Whatever happens, I'm with you. But Ava, you should brace yourself. Brittany won't stop at subtle implications. She's capable of manufacturing evidence or twisting situations entirely. Ava nodded grimly, acutely aware of the escalating stakes. If she tries that, she'll cross legal lines. I'll fight her legally if I have to. Late that evening, at home alone in her quiet apartment, Ava found herself sifting anxiously through her old employment records, emails, anything that Brittany could potentially weaponize. Every minor disagreement, every subtle criticism she'd ever received now felt deeply threatening. Ava knew she'd always behaved ethically, yet Brittany's resourcefulness worried her deeply. She was no longer fighting just for her idea. Her entire professional reputation was at stake. Her phone buzzed suddenly, jolting her from anxious thoughts. The screen flashed Lucas's name, bringing immediate relief mixed with renewed worry. "Lucas?" Ava answered urgently. "Are you all right?" Lucas sounded shaky, deeply anxious. "Ava, I'm sorry to call late. I needed to talk privately." "It's okay, Lucas. Tell me what's happening," Ava encouraged gently, hearing panic in his voice. "Brittany called again," Lucas confessed, clearly distressed. "She's threatening legal action against me personally. She said she'd sue for defamation unless I retract everything I said to HR. Ava's blood ran cold. Brittany's intimidation was escalating dramatically, now overtly legal. "Lucas, listen carefully. Her threats are baseless. She's trying to frighten you into silence." "I know," Lucas whispered desperately. "But Ava, I can't afford legal trouble. Just fighting a lawsuit could bankrupt me. Brittany's family is wealthy. She can afford lawyers. I can't." Ava felt deep empathy mixed with anger toward Brittany's ruthless tactics. "Lucas, if Brittany takes legal action, the company will protect you. Charles assured me directly. You're not alone in this." Lucas sighed heavily, still sounding uncertain. "You promise, Ava? I need assurances. Otherwise I have to back out. I can't risk my entire future." Ava's heart ached for Lucas's vulnerability. "I promise, Lucas. Tomorrow I'll personally ask Charles to confirm company protection explicitly. Just hold strong a little longer." After reassuring Lucas further, Ava ended the call feeling a deep weariness settle over her. Brittany was strategically dismantling every ally Ava had. First Lucas, now HR inquiries aimed at discrediting Ava's own character. The battle was intensifying rapidly, forcing Ava to confront just how much personal and professional risk she faced. The following morning, Ava arrived at Skyline Digital determined to confront Charles immediately about Lucas's situation. However, as soon as she reached the office, Emily intercepted her, clearly distressed. "Ava, Madison Barnes has been asking around about you aggressively," Emily whispered urgently. "She spoke to colleagues from your last job. I overheard her talking. She's deliberately twisting stories about you, implying you had conflicts with supervisors, spreading rumors you're difficult to work with." Ava's anxiety surged painfully. Madison Barnes, Brittany's loyal ally, was systematically undermining Ava's reputation externally, aiming to cast doubt within Skyline Digital. This strategic, malicious sabotage felt deeply personal. "Thank you, Emily," Ava managed softly. "You've been so brave through all this." Emily smiled weakly, clearly worried. "Be careful, Ava. Brittany and Madison together. They're dangerous." Ava immediately sought Charles, urgently relaying Lucas's fears and Madison's malicious activities. Charles, visibly disturbed, assured Ava swiftly, "Lucas has the company's full legal support. If Brittany pursues legal action against him, we'll provide full protection, attorneys, financial coverage, everything. As for Madison, I'll address her directly. She has no right to spread rumors." Relieved slightly, Ava felt grateful for Charles's genuine support. Yet the damage Madison was attempting externally was already underway, threatening to stain Ava's carefully earned reputation. Throughout the afternoon, Ava felt increasingly isolated. Colleagues she'd always considered friendly now appeared cautious, uncertain around her. Brittany's manipulation had introduced doubt, clouding Ava's professional image, a reality that deeply wounded Ava, who had always prided herself on professionalism and integrity. Late that evening, as Ava prepared to leave, her phone vibrated sharply again. Bracing herself, she read the newest anonymous message with dread. "You can't win against power, Ava. Give up before it's too late." Fury ignited fiercely within Ava, eclipsing her lingering fears. Brittany and her allies were attempting psychological warfare, intimidation through isolation, threats, rumors. Ava refused to surrender. Walking determinedly into the cool night, Ava reaffirmed silently to herself. Brittany Wilson had underestimated her resolve severely. Ava would fight harder, smarter, and more fiercely than Brittany ever anticipated. No matter how ruthless the tactics or high the personal cost, Ava was resolved to ensure truth prevailed. The battle, she knew clearly now, had entered a dangerous new phase. But Ava was fully prepared for whatever lay ahead. As days turned into weeks, Ava felt increasingly trapped in a web of tension, uncertainty, and quiet hostility. The walls of Skyline Digital, once her place of inspiration, had become oppressive, echoing whispers and guarded glances. Brittany's manipulative tactics, leveraging HR, sowing doubt among colleagues, even enlisting Madison Barnes to undermine Ava externally, were clearly having their intended effect. HR's investigation dragged on slowly, each new round of questioning more invasive and unsettling. Ava maintained unwavering honesty, answering each probe directly, but it felt increasingly like defending herself from invisible accusations rather than presenting the truth. Late one afternoon, after yet another exhausting interrogation, Ava retreated to the solitude of a rarely used break room tucked away on the building's quiet upper floors. Leaning against the cool, polished countertop, she closed her eyes, briefly allowing herself the relief of quiet. The faint hum of the air conditioning unit above provided gentle, monotonous comfort, a small respite amidst the storm. Her moment of peace shattered abruptly as the door swung open behind her. Turning quickly, Ava found herself face to face with Madison Barnes, who strode into the room confidently, eyes narrowed sharply, expression coolly disdainful. "Ava," Madison said curtly, voice tinged with thinly veiled contempt. "Enjoying your moment alone?" Ava straightened immediately, instinctively wary. Madison's unexpected confrontation felt deliberately provocative. "Madison," she responded calmly, maintaining composure despite her rising pulse. "What do you want?" Madison smiled coldly, leaning casually against the doorframe, effectively blocking Ava's exit. "Just thought we should finally talk face to face. You've probably heard I've been digging around your past. Fascinating stuff." Ava felt anger flare but suppressed it carefully, knowing Madison was baiting her deliberately. "You mean the false rumors you've been spreading?" "Yes, I've heard." Madison laughed softly, eyes gleaming maliciously. "Rumors? No, Ava. I deal in truth. Just selective truths, carefully packaged. People are remarkably willing to believe certain narratives. It's just about framing." "You mean lying?" Ava retorted sharply, refusing to be intimidated. "You're deliberately sabotaging my reputation based on Brittany's lies." Madison shrugged, indifferent to Ava's anger. "Call it what you like. The point is, perception matters more than truth. Brittany understands that. So do I. It's unfortunate you never learned that lesson." Ava stepped closer, anger now clearly visible despite her attempts at control. "You're making a huge mistake backing Brittany. When the truth fully comes out, and it will, you'll be as guilty as she is." Madison merely smiled again, coldly amused. "The truth is flexible, Ava. Brittany has powerful allies far beyond your little circle here. Honestly, you were foolish to even challenge her. You should have just let her have the idea. Small price compared to what you're paying now." Ava's jaw tightened in fury, voice carefully steady despite her emotions raging internally. "You underestimate me. I'm not afraid of Brittany. Or you." Madison regarded Ava with cool, patronizing amusement. "Brave words, Ava. But courage doesn't guarantee victory. Brittany warned you. Truth has a price. You're discovering that now, aren't you?" Before Ava could respond, Madison turned sharply, exiting swiftly, leaving Ava alone, heart pounding, adrenaline coursing fiercely through her veins. Madison's blatant arrogance had revealed the full scope of Brittany's strategy, complete character assassination. Ava knew clearly now that Brittany intended not just to win this conflict but utterly destroy Ava professionally. Returning shakily to her desk, Ava immediately called Ethan, her voice urgent as she quickly recounted Madison's confrontational threat. "Ava, you need to document everything," Ethan advised anxiously, clearly disturbed by Madison's aggressive tactics. "Record these encounters, document threats, messages, everything. Brittany and Madison are crossing serious ethical boundaries now." Ava agreed immediately, realizing fully the gravity of the situation. Brittany's allies, emboldened by perceived impunity, were escalating their intimidation dangerously. Ava resolved firmly to take Ethan's advice, carefully documenting every interaction, gathering concrete evidence against Brittany's systematic sabotage. Over the following days, Ava meticulously compiled emails, recorded subtle threats, documented each incident involving Madison and Brittany. Her desk drawer slowly filled with detailed files, her personal laptop encrypted securely to prevent potential sabotage. Ava understood clearly now. This battle required careful strategy, unshakable patience, and undeniable proof. Meanwhile, Lucas remained deeply anxious, despite Charles's direct reassurances. Brittany continued subtly threatening legal action, preying relentlessly on his vulnerabilities. Ava checked in frequently, encouraging him, reinforcing Charles's guarantees of protection. Yet Lucas's confidence eroded slowly under Brittany's persistent, ruthless pressure. Late one evening, Ava's phone buzzed urgently. Lucas's frantic voice erupted immediately upon answering, panic unmistakable. "Ava, it's Lucas," he gasped breathlessly. "Someone hacked into my personal computer. Files deleted, emails vanished, Brittany's messages gone. Everything incriminating has disappeared." Ava felt icy dread spike sharply within her chest. Brittany's desperation had now manifested overtly criminal acts, hacking and evidence destruction. "Lucas, calm down," Ava urged firmly despite her own panic. "Do you have any backups? Anything?" Lucas hesitated anxiously, then admitted weakly, "I have physical backups on USB sticks hidden in my apartment. But whoever did this knows where I live, Ava. They could come after me personally." Ava's pulse quickened urgently. "Lucas, listen carefully. Pack those backups immediately. Come to my place. You'll be safer here. We'll contact Charles together and file a police report first thing tomorrow. Brittany has crossed serious criminal lines now." Lucas agreed shakily, clearly terrified but somewhat reassured by Ava's decisive calmness. Minutes later, Ava paced anxiously, heart racing, awaiting Lucas's arrival. The severity of Brittany's actions, explicit sabotage, criminal hacking, stunned Ava, reinforcing how desperate Brittany had become to silence them. Lucas arrived pale, shaking visibly, clutching tightly his small backpack containing critical backup drives. Ava reassured him gently, then swiftly contacted Charles, outlining Brittany's dangerous escalation urgently. Charles, deeply troubled, immediately arranged an emergency meeting early next morning. Ava, Lucas, Ethan, and Charles gathered privately in Charles's secure office before dawn, discussing urgently Brittany's increasingly dangerous tactics. "She's committed serious criminal acts now," Charles affirmed gravely, examining Lucas's damaged laptop closely. "This must involve law enforcement. I'll arrange immediate investigation internally as well." Ava nodded firmly, heart pounding fiercely with both anger and resolve. Brittany clearly believes she's untouchable, powerful allies protecting her. But this crosses lines even they can't defend. Charles agreed solemnly. "Absolutely. I'll personally oversee legal proceedings internally. Meanwhile, Lucas, you'll remain protected fully by our legal resources. Ava, continue documenting meticulously. We'll end Brittany's threats decisively now." Leaving Charles's office shortly afterward, Ava felt a renewed clarity, strengthened by Charles's decisive commitment. Brittany's ruthless escalation had finally forced her own undoing. Criminal evidence now clearly documented, implicating her directly. Yet Ava understood this victory was fragile. Brittany's powerful connections still lurking dangerously. Ava remained wary, understanding fully Brittany's desperate unpredictability. Returning home, Ava carefully secured Lucas in her guest room, ensuring his comfort and safety. Alone later, Ava reviewed meticulously compiled files, aware clearly how close they now stood to genuine justice. Yet lingering dread persisted within her, reinforced deeply by Madison's earlier threat. Brittany's powerful allies, hidden, influential, remained dangerous unknowns. Resolutely, Ava reaffirmed silently to herself. Justice, integrity, and truth demanded courage, sacrifice, and persistence. Brittany's ruthless manipulation could never silence Ava's commitment. No matter the personal or professional cost, Ava vowed steadfastly, truth would prevail. Her battle, she knew clearly, now approached its most dangerous climax. Yet she remained ready, strengthened deeply by resilience, courage, and unyielding commitment to truth. The tension at Skyline Digital Media had reached a fever pitch. Brittany Wilson's actions had become openly aggressive, no longer hidden beneath a veneer of professionalism. News of the internal investigation and hacking allegations spread like wildfire, igniting speculation and fear throughout the company. Employees whispered anxiously, uncertain whom to trust. The once vibrant workspace now felt cold and oppressive, a battleground marked by suspicion and caution. Ava returned to work early, determined yet weary, feeling the weight of responsibility pressing heavily upon her shoulders. Lucas had spent a restless night at her apartment, visibly shaken by Brittany's ruthless invasion of his privacy. Ava's own sleep had been fitful, haunted by anxiety over what Brittany might attempt next. Charles Montgomery had arranged a formal internal hearing scheduled later that day, inviting senior executives and HR officials. The goal was clear: confront Brittany directly with the mounting evidence, laying bare her escalating misconduct, including potential criminal charges. Ava understood clearly this hearing represented a critical turning point, one final opportunity to expose Brittany's deception decisively. Arriving at her desk, Ava found Ethan already anxiously waiting, visibly tense yet supportive. "Today's the big day," Ethan murmured softly, handing Ava a coffee, her favorite order, a small comfort amidst chaos. Ava smiled faintly, grateful yet distracted. "I hope this finally ends today, Ethan." Lucas barely slept. He's terrified Brittany or her allies will retaliate further. Ethan squeezed her shoulder reassuringly. "Charles promised security during the hearing. Brittany can't harm Lucas physically, though I admit she might attempt more psychological warfare." Ava nodded grimly, acutely aware of Brittany's ruthless unpredictability. "We need to remain cautious, Ethan. Brittany is desperate. Cornered people are dangerous." Shortly afterward, Emily approached timidly, her eyes flickering anxiously between Ava and Ethan. "Ava, Madison Barnes called in sick today. HR announced she won't be attending the hearing." Ava's brows knitted sharply in suspicion. "Convenient timing. Brittany's strongest ally suddenly unavailable?" Emily nodded nervously. "Exactly. It feels strategic, like she's distancing herself. Maybe Brittany's allies are sensing defeat." Ava exchanged a wary glance with Ethan, considering Emily's insight carefully. "Or," Ethan countered cautiously, "it could mean Brittany's planning something extreme. Her closest ally absent. That seems deliberate." Ava's pulse quickened, understanding Ethan's implication immediately. Brittany might be planning a dramatic move, something risky. "Emily, thank you for letting us know." Emily nodded anxiously, clearly concerned. "Please be careful, Ava." The remainder of the morning passed slowly, filled with tense anticipation. Ava meticulously organized her extensive documentation, emails, chat transcripts, Lucas's detailed testimony, preparing carefully for the imminent confrontation. Anxiety and determination mingled fiercely within her, fueling a resolute readiness. Finally, at precisely 2:00 p.m., Ava, Ethan, Lucas, and Charles entered the executive conference room. Spacious, imposing, lined with sleek glass walls reflecting the afternoon sunlight sharply. Senior executives and HR representatives already waited, their expressions carefully neutral, though curiosity flickered subtly behind polished professionalism. Moments later, Brittany Wilson arrived, poised yet visibly strained beneath her meticulously maintained appearance. She seated herself calmly, eyes briefly meeting Ava's in a cold, defiant stare, a silent declaration of relentless hostility. Charles began the hearing decisively, his tone grave and authoritative. "This meeting is convened to address severe allegations involving Brittany Wilson, including unethical conduct, sabotage, intimidation, and unauthorized access to personal files." He turned directly toward Brittany, expression sternly professional. "Brittany, substantial evidence has emerged implicating you directly. You're invited to respond before we present this evidence formally." Brittany's expression hardened immediately, eyes narrowing sharply. She rose confidently, voice clear yet laced subtly with barely restrained fury. "These allegations are fabricated, a coordinated attack by Ava Johnson, driven by professional jealousy. HR's investigation, I'm sure, uncovered no credible evidence against me, only accusations designed to ruin my career." Charles remained composed, unmoved by Brittany's confident deflection. "Unfortunately, Brittany, that's not accurate. Extensive documentation exists. Emails, chat logs, testimony from Lucas Reynolds clearly detailing your instructions to illegally access Ava's project." Lucas, sitting beside Ava, visibly flinched under Brittany's cold glare, yet remained resolute, strengthened subtly by Ava's supportive presence. Brittany's voice hardened dangerously as she turned toward Lucas directly. "Lucas is clearly manipulated, threatened by Ava to lie." Lucas stood shakily but bravely, facing Brittany squarely. "No, Brittany. You manipulated and threatened me, explicitly. I have proof." He handed Charles the small USB drive containing meticulously preserved backups of Brittany's incriminating messages. Charles accepted solemnly, inserting it swiftly into a laptop connected directly to the large conference screen. Moments later, the room filled with explicit evidence, damning chat exchanges between Brittany and Lucas detailing Brittany's precise instructions for hacking Ava's files. Gasps rippled quietly among executives witnessing firsthand Brittany's undeniable misconduct. Brittany's composure shattered visibly, panic briefly crossing her carefully controlled expression before swiftly replaced by fierce defiance. "This is fabricated," Brittany snapped harshly, voice rising angrily. "Lucas tampered with those messages, under Ava's direction. This proves nothing." Charles sighed deeply, visibly troubled yet determined. "Brittany, further forensic analysis verified authenticity. Your messages were independently confirmed, unaltered. Evidence of illegal hacking is irrefutable." Brittany stood abruptly, expression suddenly desperate, her voice shaking sharply. "Charles, listen to reason. Ava orchestrated this entire charade. She's manipulating everyone. HR must investigate Ava fully." Miranda Evans from HR interjected calmly, her tone professionally neutral yet firm. "We have thoroughly investigated both claims. No credible evidence was found supporting your accusations against Ava. Conversely, your misconduct, intimidation, unauthorized access, sabotage, is extensively documented and undeniable." Brittany's panic intensified visibly, desperation clearly evident now. "You'll regret this, every one of you. Ava is deceiving everyone, pretending innocence. She's dangerous." Ava remained composed, despite Brittany's volatile accusations. "The only dangerous deception here, Brittany, is yours, proven conclusively by your own actions." Brittany's fists clenched furiously, eyes flashing with intense rage. For a tense, silent moment, the room held collective breath, sensing Brittany's potential explosive outburst. Instead, Brittany straightened sharply, voice dropping dangerously quiet yet chillingly clear. "This isn't over, Ava. You've made powerful enemies today. Enemies far beyond this room. You'll regret crossing me." Without another word, Brittany stormed abruptly from the conference room, leaving stunned silence in her wake. Charles sighed heavily, addressing remaining executives firmly yet calmly. "Brittany Wilson's employment is terminated immediately. The company will pursue legal action regarding hacking and sabotage. Lucas Reynolds receives full company support and protection. This unfortunate chapter ends here decisively." Relief surged fiercely within Ava, yet tempered deeply by Brittany's chilling final threat. Ethan squeezed her hand reassuringly, recognizing her lingering anxiety clearly. Afterward, as the room slowly emptied, Charles approached Ava privately, expression deeply concerned yet supportive. "Brittany's threat should be taken seriously, Ava. We'll provide additional security, monitor closely for retaliation." Ava nodded gravely, appreciating Charles's genuine care deeply. "Thank you, Charles. Brittany won't intimidate me, but I understand clearly the stakes now." Leaving the office later, Ava reflected thoughtfully, recognizing fully Brittany's dangerous unpredictability. Yet Ava's resolve remained fiercely strengthened. Truth had prevailed decisively today, vindicating integrity over ruthless deception. The battle had reached a decisive climax, exposing Brittany's misconduct clearly. Yet Ava understood clearly this victory, while significant, marked only a temporary respite. Brittany's powerful, unseen allies remained dangerously unknown, potential threats lingering beyond the immediate horizon. Resolutely, Ava reaffirmed silently her unwavering commitment. Justice, courage, and integrity had guided her here decisively. Brittany's ruthless manipulation failed spectacularly today. Yet Ava recognized fully, the larger fight remained unfinished. Walking determinedly onward, Ava braced firmly for whatever unknown battles still lay ahead, strengthened deeply by clarity, courage, and unwavering conviction. In the weeks following Brittany Wilson's abrupt termination, a tense calm settled over Skyline Digital Media. Ava Johnson felt simultaneously relieved and wary. Brittany's dramatic departure had shaken the company deeply, leaving an uncomfortable silence in its wake. Conversations were hushed, interactions carefully measured. Ava sensed an underlying fear among colleagues, concern about potential backlash, worry about how far Brittany's allies might go, or simply uncertainty about their own positions in a shifting corporate landscape. Yet amidst the unease, Ava noticed a subtle change in attitudes toward her. Colleagues who had previously been distant or cautious began approaching her discreetly, offering support, even quiet congratulations. Slowly, Ava's reputation was restoring itself, no longer overshadowed entirely by Brittany's manipulations. Ethan remained steadfastly by her side, ever supportive, quietly protective, helping Ava navigate the lingering anxiety and aftermath. Charles Montgomery maintained vigilant oversight, regularly checking on Ava's well-being, ensuring increased security measures, and frequently reassuring Lucas Reynolds of continued support. HR finalized their investigation conclusively, clearing Ava officially of all Brittany's accusations and confirming Brittany's guilt. Formal legal proceedings commenced swiftly, the company determined to hold Brittany accountable fully. Yet despite clear legal victories, Ava remained profoundly unsettled by Brittany's final chilling warning. Her words, "You've made powerful enemies today, enemies far beyond this room," echoed persistently in Ava's thoughts, fueling lingering dread about Brittany's influential unseen connections. One evening, weeks after Brittany's dismissal, Ava worked late, meticulously preparing documentation for an upcoming company-wide review meeting intended to restore transparency and confidence across all departments. Ethan had already left, encouraging her gently to rest, but Ava remained stubbornly determined, committed deeply to her responsibilities. As the office emptied slowly, silence enveloped her comfortably, interrupted only occasionally by distant janitorial staff movements or gentle humming of ventilation systems. Ava focused intently, absorbed fully, until abruptly jolted by her phone vibrating urgently. Glancing quickly downward, Ava's pulse quickened sharply upon seeing an unfamiliar number. Warily she answered, heart already racing anxiously. "Hello?" An unfamiliar male voice spoke crisply yet calmly. "Ms. Johnson, my name is Alexander Grant. I'm legal counsel representing interests closely aligned with Brittany Wilson. I'd like to meet privately, immediately." Ava stiffened immediately, instincts screaming caution loudly. "Meet privately? Regarding what exactly, Mr. Grant?" Grant's tone remained coolly neutral, revealing little emotion. "Regarding potential resolution of lingering tensions. Brittany's allies prefer discreet handling rather than prolonged legal confrontations." Suspicion flared fiercely within Ava, recognizing subtle threat clearly embedded beneath professional politeness. "Resolution or intimidation? Your client openly threatened me." Grant paused briefly, his voice deliberately calm yet subtly menacing. "Ms. Johnson, prolonged conflict serves no one's interests, especially yours. Brittany possesses sensitive information potentially damaging to your professional standing. Information thus far unrevealed. My clients suggest cooperative resolution." Ava's jaw tightened sharply, voice hardening with quiet fury. "I refuse to be intimidated. Any supposed damaging information Brittany claims to hold is fabricated. Threats disguised as negotiations won't silence me." Grant sighed deeply, feigning disappointed patience. "Your choice, Ms. Johnson, but consider carefully. Brittany's supporters possess significant resources. Refusing cooperation risks severe consequences, professionally, personally." Ava's voice rose slightly, firm and unyielding. "Your threats are documented clearly. Attempting intimidation will only harm Brittany further legally." Grant ended the call abruptly, leaving Ava trembling slightly, pulse racing fiercely. The explicit threat, bold, direct, reinforced chillingly Brittany's dangerous reach still extending far beyond Skyline Digital. Ava understood clearly now. Brittany's allies, powerful, influential, hidden, remained actively hostile, determined to silence Ava decisively. Immediately, Ava contacted Charles, urgently reporting Grant's intimidating call fully. Charles, deeply disturbed yet decisive, assured Ava of increased security measures immediately and direct communication with company attorneys for protective legal counsel. "Ava," Charles urged firmly, voice gravely serious yet supportive, "please document every detail meticulously. Brittany's associates have crossed significant legal boundaries again. We'll respond decisively." Despite Charles's strong assurances, Ava's anxiety lingered fiercely. Brittany's boldness, even removed from official employment, unnerved Ava deeply, confirming Brittany's ruthless determination to destroy Ava professionally regardless of consequences. Later that night, Ethan arrived anxiously at Ava's apartment, deeply concerned upon learning Grant's threat. Ava recounted the intimidating call meticulously, her voice trembling slightly despite efforts at control. Ethan's eyes flashed angrily, yet concern softened his voice gently. "Ava, Brittany clearly remains dangerous. You shouldn't stay alone. Please consider temporary relocation or allowing security personnel closer monitoring." Ava sighed heavily, feeling deeply exhausted emotionally yet stubbornly resistant. "Ethan, I refuse to hide fearfully. Brittany's intimidation is precisely intended to isolate, silence. Running or hiding signals surrender." Ethan hesitated, deeply troubled yet respecting Ava's fierce resolve. Then at least promise constant vigilance. Brittany's desperation clearly escalates dangerously. Ava agreed quietly, appreciating deeply Ethan's unwavering support. Yet lingering dread persisted sharply. Brittany's invisible allies remained dangerously unknown, their capabilities, influence, and ruthlessness frighteningly unpredictable. Several days later, Charles convened an emergency meeting privately. Ava, Ethan, Lucas, and several senior executives assembled anxiously, clearly anticipating disturbing developments. Charles, visibly distressed, addressed attendees solemnly. New developments have emerged, deeply troubling revelations. Brittany Wilson's associates have initiated extensive public misinformation campaigns targeting Ava explicitly. Social media accounts, fabricated websites spreading false allegations, attempts damaging Ava's reputation publicly. Ava paled visibly, heart racing anxiously. Brittany's threats had manifested overtly, publicly. Character assassination extending dangerously beyond company confines into broader professional communities. Charles continued gravely, addressing Ava directly, voice supportive yet urgently serious. We're responding immediately. Company attorneys contacting platforms, requesting removals, issuing formal defamation complaints. Yet damage exists already. Misinformation spreading dangerously. Ava's anxiety surged painfully. Public professional credibility now directly attacked, potentially irreparably damaged. Brittany's calculated ruthlessness shocked Ava deeply, confirming clearly Brittany's total disregard ethically or legally. Lucas, deeply disturbed yet supportive, spoke urgently. Ava, you must publicly respond directly. Immediate, transparent statements countering falsehoods explicitly. Your personal reputation demands fierce protection. Executives agreed firmly, urging decisive action immediately. Ava, feeling overwhelmed yet fiercely determined, agreed decisively. Public transparency crucial, confronting Brittany's dangerous misinformation decisively. Late that evening, Ava meticulously prepared public statements, carefully documenting truth clearly, explicitly disproving Brittany's malicious allegations. Ethan assisted gently, offering supportive comfort amidst painful vulnerability Ava now faced publicly. As Ava finally published transparently truthful statements online, decisively countering misinformation explicitly, immediate responses surged powerfully. Colleagues, industry professionals swiftly expressing strong support, condemning Brittany's manipulative tactics unequivocally. Ava felt deeply emotional, overwhelmed profoundly yet strengthened immensely by powerful solidarity emerging rapidly. Yet Ava understood clearly. Brittany's powerful allies remained dangerously hidden, ruthless hostility persistently escalating unpredictably. Public vindication represented crucial victory decisively, yet lingering dangers remained chillingly unresolved. Resolutely, Ava reaffirmed silently her unwavering commitment deeply. Brittany's ruthless manipulations demanded courageous confrontation persistently. Justice required persistent vigilance, decisively confronting dangerous threats continuously emerging unpredictably. Walking determinedly onward decisively, strengthened fiercely by powerful support emerging publicly, Ava braced courageously, confronting unknown battles decisively, prepared fully confronting whatever threats Brittany's ruthless allies dangerously presented next. The fallout from Brittany Wilson's aggressive smear campaign reverberated through Ava Johnson's professional and personal life. Though Ava's swift and transparent public response had garnered immense support, Brittany's hidden allies were persistent. Despite being fired and publicly discredited, Brittany's network continued their covert attacks, determined to destabilize Ava, attempting to sabotage her reputation far beyond Skyline Digital. Each day, Ava faced a mix of uplifting solidarity and frustrating setbacks. The public backing from industry colleagues and even strangers was overwhelming and empowering, yet Ava couldn't shake the unease caused by anonymous threats, persistent online trolls, and disturbing emails designed to undermine her confidence. Charles Montgomery and Ethan Parker consistently reassured her of their support, standing firmly by her side. Lucas Reynolds, though visibly shaken by his experience, also remained supportive, sharing information openly and courageously whenever needed. However, despite their collective resilience, Ava sensed the prolonged stress was beginning to wear on them all. Ethan grew increasingly protective, often urging Ava to take additional precautions. Charles, while outwardly steadfast, showed subtle signs of strain, his usual confidence sometimes replaced with visible worry. Ava herself struggled nightly, exhausted yet restless, her sleep disturbed by recurring anxiety about Brittany's potential next move. One evening, alone in her apartment, Ava was preparing dinner, a simple attempt at restoring normalcy amidst ongoing turmoil. A soft knock at the door startled her sharply. Cautiously, Ava moved toward it, heart racing slightly. Checking carefully through the peephole, she was relieved yet surprised to see Emily, the young receptionist, standing nervously outside. Quickly opening the door, Ava welcomed Emily warmly yet curiously. "Emily, is everything all right? Come in." Emily entered hesitantly, visibly anxious, her eyes darting nervously. "Ava, I'm sorry to show up unexpectedly, but I discovered something important. I had to tell you privately." Concerned, Ava quickly ushered Emily into the living room, sensing the seriousness clearly in Emily's demeanor. "What did you find, Emily?" Emily sat down shakily, her voice trembling slightly. "Earlier today, Brittany came to the building. Security let her in. She said she needed something from HR, but she wasn't authorized to be there." Ava felt immediate alarm. "Did she confront anyone?" Emily shook her head anxiously. "No, but she met briefly with someone privately in one of the empty offices. I saw them through the window." "Ava, it was Miranda Evans from HR." Shock surged through Ava, instantly followed by suspicion and dread. Miranda Evans, the HR head, someone Ava had trusted implicitly during the investigation, meeting secretly with Brittany? Ava's thoughts raced frantically. "Are you certain it was Miranda?" Ava asked urgently. Emily nodded firmly, eyes wide with anxiety. "Absolutely certain. They spoke privately for about 15 minutes. Afterward, Brittany left quickly, visibly upset. But Miranda stayed behind for a long time, looking very shaken." Ava's mind spun rapidly. Miranda Evans had led the investigation, supposedly impartial, instrumental in clearing Ava's name. Why would Miranda risk secretly meeting Brittany now? Ava knew immediately this revelation required immediate action, confrontation, clarification, decisive resolution. Thanking Emily warmly, Ava quickly reassured her, then immediately contacted Charles Montgomery privately. Upon hearing Emily's revelation, Charles reacted gravely, clearly disturbed yet determined. "We must confront Miranda directly," Charles decided swiftly. "This revelation is deeply troubling. If Miranda compromised her impartiality during this investigation, everything could unravel dangerously." Agreeing firmly, Ava scheduled a private meeting early next morning. Herself, Charles, Ethan, and Miranda, Evans attending exclusively, ensuring discretion. The following day, in Charles's secure office, Miranda entered calmly yet visibly cautious, sensing immediately the meeting's gravity. Ava felt tension permeate the room instantly. Charles began decisively. "Miranda, yesterday you met secretly with Brittany Wilson, someone you officially investigated, someone actively engaged in sabotage against Ava Johnson. Please explain clearly." Miranda paled slightly, clearly startled yet quickly recovering composure, maintaining professional neutrality carefully. "Charles, Brittany insisted on speaking privately. She claimed urgent information relevant to ongoing security concerns, nothing compromising investigation impartiality." Ava interjected calmly yet firmly. "Miranda, meeting Brittany secretly, without documenting, appears clearly compromising, especially given her recent aggressive actions against me. Why hide this encounter unless fearing scrutiny?" Miranda hesitated visibly, clearly troubled, finally sighing deeply, expression softening vulnerably. "Brittany has been threatening me, Charles, personally, aggressively. She claimed possessing damaging personal information from my past, something unrelated yet deeply embarrassing, professionally destructive if publicly revealed." A stunned silence settled heavily upon everyone present. Understanding clearly now, Brittany's ruthless tactics extended further dangerously, targeting Miranda covertly, blackmailing aggressively behind scenes. Charles spoke softly, compassionately yet firmly. "Miranda, hiding Brittany's threats from us only increased your vulnerability. Transparency protects everyone involved. Will you provide a full written statement detailing Brittany's threats explicitly?" Miranda nodded immediately, relief flooding visibly through her, grateful for supportive understanding clearly evident among colleagues. "Absolutely. I'm deeply sorry for allowing personal fear to compromise transparency. Brittany's threats overwhelmed rational judgment. It won't happen again. I promise full transparency immediately." After Miranda left, now committed firmly to transparency, Charles addressed Ava, Ethan thoughtfully yet gravely. "Brittany's tactics clearly escalate dangerously. Covert blackmail, intimidation, misinformation. Her reach, ruthlessness exceed initial assumptions." Ava nodded grimly, understanding fully Brittany's desperate unpredictability, dangerous volatility clearly confirmed again. "Charles, we must decisively end Brittany's threats. Public confrontation, explicit legal action is required. Brittany won't cease attacks willingly. Only decisive action stops her." Agreeing fully, Charles initiated immediate formal legal actions explicitly. Defamation lawsuits, restraining orders, explicit protective orders clearly naming Brittany publicly. The company issued direct public statements condemning Brittany's misconduct explicitly, reinforcing unwavering support publicly for Ava unequivocally. As public attention intensified dramatically, Brittany's hidden allies gradually distanced themselves rapidly, recognizing clearly Brittany's increasing liability publicly. Her previous support, powerful yet fragile, crumbled decisively under intense scrutiny publicly. Eventually, publicly isolated, facing extensive legal consequences decisively, Brittany surrendered grudgingly, publicly withdrawing misinformation explicitly, formally apologizing publicly yet reluctantly, clearly resentful deeply. Public vindication emerged powerfully for Ava. Professional reputation restored fully, reinforced significantly by courageous resilience publicly demonstrated clearly. Company-wide recognition followed explicitly. At the annual Skyline Digital Awards ceremony weeks later, Ava received the prestigious Employee of the Year award publicly, celebrated emphatically by colleagues universally, recognizing decisively her exceptional integrity courageously demonstrated consistently, standing proudly before colleagues publicly, accepting recognition graciously yet humbly. Ava spoke emotionally, voice unwavering firmly. Truth demands courage, integrity, qualities challenged severely recently. Together, collectively, courageously confronting intimidation decisively restored truth clearly. I'm profoundly grateful personally, honored professionally. Applause surged powerfully. Colleagues recognizing explicitly Ava's courageous integrity powerfully demonstrated consistently. Ethan, Charles, Lucas, all smiled proudly, deeply satisfied finally witnessing justice decisively prevail publicly. Yet privately afterward, reflecting thoughtfully, Ava recognized profoundly complex personal costs clearly involved. Brittany's ruthless manipulation caused significant emotional turmoil personally. Trust shaken. Friendships tested severely, vulnerabilities exposed explicitly. Resolutely, Ava reaffirmed silently personal commitment profoundly. Confronting deception courageously demanded unwavering integrity consistently, even facing personal risk significantly. Brittany's ruthless tactics, though painful, strengthened resilience decisively, reinforcing explicitly Ava's courageous determination persistently confronting injustice explicitly. Walking onward decisively, Ava felt profoundly strengthened clearly, integrity vindicated, justice decisively achieved finally. Yet she remained profoundly aware explicitly. Truth's courageous pursuit, though rewarding deeply, demanded perpetual vigilance consistently, courageously confronting injustice persistently. Her journey continued decisively, integrity unwavering, courage steadfast persistently, truth guiding courageously forward consistently.